Hey guys, see the Pillager here with a tech video. Now, I've missed all the things that have been changing around in Magic the Gathering with the release of Journey into Nyx and the upcoming new sets, M15, and the so-called Huey project, which we don't know nothing about it yet at the moment, is a very exciting thing. And what happens is that the next upcoming things affects the environment of gaming in the form of standard. In the standard environment, what's going to happen is once these new sets come out, decks will probably change drastically, gameplays and strategies. But unfortunately, there comes a time when after a set comes out, the older sets will rotate out. So what happens is once M15 comes out, the decks are still usable, the cards from the current rotation and standard will still be usable, but once the new set comes out, they won't be usable anymore, and that refers to the Return to Ravnica block and M14 set. So I had made careful preparations for it. I know it's coming and everything, so little by little I'm making sure that some of the older cards are trying to disappear and everything, and some of the older cards that I see that may still be useful, I kept it intact into my deck, but I'm using speculation and all that to see what I can do. So the safest deck I have is actually the Bant deck that I've done previously. I released a video on that, but now I revamped it and made it better. Now here's the thing, the Bant deck I had done beforehand was pretty impressive, but I did it because I noticed that in the MTG top 8 all over the internet and everywhere in media and everything, there actually hasn't been a top 8 man deck. So what I love to do is make decks that are very uncommon, that don't usually see play in the formats or any type of competitive play. That's why I made the Bant deck, because it looks like a really fun deck and I want to play it. That's basically the point and purpose why I made that deck. Now without further ado, let me present you my new Bant deck. We might as well call this Bant deck Redux. And here we go. Starting off with this guy right here, Judge's Familiar. Is a 1-drop white blue flyer, a 1/1, and it's from the Return to Ravnica block. It says flying, sacrifice Judge's Familiar, counter target instant or sorcery spell until its controller pays 1. Now when you use this card, it's a good beginning card just to start off. 1 mana, and it's pretty viable because it has the white blue mana cost, and I run 3 of them. The key to running this card is to have it as a beginner or to pressure the opponent by countering a spell. If you see that they tapped out of mana with a spell, you use this and you just sacrifice it and counter it until they pay 1 extra. They can't. You pretty much accomplished your goal. But I run 3 of these. And the next card I'm going to show is a card that will fix your mana. 7 Carotid. 1 colorless, 1 green, Defender Hexproof. Tap, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. It's a 0/3. And I run 3 of these. Previously I used to run 4, but I ran 3 for good reason. It's good to have plenty of these guys out in the field, but when you have too much of them, then you know you're probably doing something wrong, or I don't know what it is exactly that can help you out in battle or anything like that. You need more creatures out there or more spells, so I put 3 of these. Basically this is the guy that's gonna fix your mana pretty much. There's another card that I will discuss later after I finish the deck tech video, and it came out in Journey into Nyx, and it's a really useful card. But this card is amazing, still seeing play to fix decks, and that's why I have it. I really love it because it fixes my mana, so I have them around. Next card is from the Return to Ravnica block, Loxodon Smiter. 1 colorless, 1 green, 1 white. And it says Loxodon Smiter can't be countered if a spell or an ability an opponent controls Causes you to discard Loxodon Smiter. Put it into the battlefield instead of putting it into your graveyard. 4/4. This guy is a powerhouse. What's amazing about him is he's a very strong creature for the mana cost. He's 4/4 for 3. So imagine you get value off of that. Not only that, when you deal with a control deck or somebody tries to counterspell it, it can't, because it has Loxodon Smiter can't be countered. Some cards have that as well, such as Supreme Verdict, which is excellent removal to not counter it and everything. So, and there's other cards as well that can't be countered, which is amazing. And just to have that wording itself is just what makes the card what it is. I run 3 of him. Next, I have a card that came out in Theros, Horizon Chimera. 2 colorless, 1 green, 1 blue. Horizon Chimera, flash, flying, trample. Whenever you draw a card, you gain 1 life, and it's a 3/2. I run 3 of these. Okay. The point with this card is this. This creature has a flash ability. He's a good defender with the flying and trample, which is he could do damage with the flying and he could bring it into other areas. And it says as well, whenever you draw a card, you gain 1 life. Now this is where the fun begins. Now, if you see yourself in a good position that you play offensively and it's to your advantage, you want to use this card to combo it off with some other cards that can help you get a good outcome for the game. So imagine, it says whenever you draw a card, you gain 1 life. Imagine, like every time you draw a card, you gain 1 life. That gives you a chance to boost your defense. And as I said, you got to use this card. Basically, it's a defensive and offensive mechanism, but I use it more offensively, in my opinion. And I'll explain why as I continue on into the deck. I run 3 of these. And this card over here is probably one of the stars of the deck. That makes it pretty interesting is Prophet of Crufix. It's a 3 colorless, 1 green, 1 blue. And it's a human wizard. Says, untap all creatures on land you control during each other player's untap step. You may cast creatures cards as though they had flash. It's 2/3. Now, this is a very great card to have. I only run 2. Why? Because the risk of removal. This is a conditional win card, basically. What Prophet does is this. It lets you untap all creatures and lands during each other player's untap step. That is amazing, especially if you're a counter deck or your control or anything like that, or mid-range or anything like that. That's just amazing. And the fact that the creatures have flash for extra defense, even if it's their turn, you could flash in creatures and bring up any creature. It doesn't matter. It could be any creature and you could use it defensively. So it has an offensive and defensive mechanism at the same time as well. What makes it so great. And you'll have mana in your arsenal while it's in your opponent's turn, enabling you to do extra things. If you do run spells, if you know, and all that. And that's what makes it so great. I mean, this card is definitely great and it's very underestimated, but once it sees play, it does amazing things. And that's why I have it in the deck. Next is another underestimated card, which is this. It's Prime Speaker Sagana from Gatecrash. 2 colorless, 2 green and 2 blue. And she says that Prime Speaker Sagana enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is the greatest power among other creatures you control. When Prime Speaker Sagana enters the battlefield, draw cards equal to its power. 1/1. Only drawback she has is she's legendary. Okay, I run 2 of her. Here's the deal. I've been criticized for using this card. Why? Okay. The drawback is that she's legendary. I understand that. But I have her around because she has battlefield presence. Now, for the fact being that she has that special ability that she has, she enables certain things to happen. For example, I remember playing one game where I saw myself, I needed creatures. I had a creature, Loxodon Smiter, on the battlefield, correct? So, once I had a Loxodon Smiter on the field, I still had more mana left. And I brought in Prime Speaker. So what happened to Prime Speaker after Loxodon Smiter was already on the field? Prime Speaker became a 5/5. That's exactly what happened. She became a 5/5, and because of the texting, she says that she gets +1/+1 counters for the greatest power among other creatures you control. So +4/+4, she became a 5/5. And she entered the battlefield. So my hand was pretty low at that time too. So I get to draw 4 cards. And the beauty of it is that I had more options at that point. Now imagine if I had Loxodon and I had Horizon Chimera in the field. What would have happened? I would have gained life as well. That's what makes this card so great. She's like the pseudo Sphinx Revelation, basically. She's a Sphinx Revelation on a body, except you don't get the life. Instead of life, you just get counters, pretty much. Which she's not X-costed, but I see her as a great option to have around. You know, but it's heavily criticized to have her in a deck. But I still run her nonetheless, because I think she still shines. And that's why I run 2 of her. Next are these 3 spells that I have here that go correctly with this deck. Is Simic Charm, which is 1 green, 1 blue. It's an instant. You have to choose one. Target creature gets +3/+3 until end of turn, or permanents you control gain hexproof until end of turn, or return target creature to its owner's hand. Wow. I mean, it's amazing the options that you have. Basically, with this card, you get to pump up your creature, or you could give him hexproof, or as well, you may return a creature to a hand. So like, let's say you're in combat and there's a creature blocking your way and you want to swing at the opponent and you want to ensure to make damage, you just pick the option of return target creature to its owner's hand. Or what you can do is this: if you see that your creatures are getting attacked with a certain spell, let's say a Hero's Downfall, or some removal type of spell that can be countered, of course, you give them hexproof. And also, you could do pump ability, which you could give a creature +3/+3. So the options are there for you, and they make it pretty amazing when you use it right and correctly. The thing is you gotta plan it out right when you use this card at the right conditions. So definitely, this is a card that you must observe and have a good tactic along with. This next card is very important to the deck, and it makes it work as well. And it's my counter. It is Dissolve. It goes 1 colorless, 2 blue, instant, and it says counter target spell scry 1. And I run 4 of these. Now formerly, I only ran 3 in my old deck, but I put speculation on it because there was a card I used to run that countered the spell, but I took it out, and that was from Return to Ravnica, and I don't remember the name right now. It's X colorless and blue, and it says that counter target spell unless opponent pays X. And that card, I removed it because, for good reason. One, because the opponent might pay X in order for the spell to get through, because either they have ramp or they have the mana to do it. So it's not really consistent. You want something to be done, and done for sure. And this is a card that will get the job done for sure. Not just that, also the fact that it has Scry 1. It lets you take a peek in your library, and that's beautiful. The fact that you get to peek in your library and you get to know what the next card is going to be. So if there's a card, for example, top of your library that you don't like, you put on the bottom of your library, and that's it. And then the next card might be in your favor, and it'll really help you out. And that's the why this card is very important, because it lets you take a gander at the library if it does pass, and you get to counter a spell that might change the rate of the game and everything. So I run 4 of these. Next is a card from Gatecrash, which is pretty interesting that I have these 2 cards here, which is Render Silent. At the time, I didn't really want to put this card into my deck, but I've seen it being played and everything, and I kind of fell in love with it. It is 1 white, 2 blue, it's an instant, and it says counter target spell is controller can't cast spells this turn. I run 2 of these. Here's the thing about this card. The cost, the mana has to get there. Okay, I understand that. That's a little drawback it has. You gotta have white definitely, and blue if the conditions are there. Obviously, you know, my deck needs those colors, so that shouldn't be a problem at all. But the thing is, I love it for this, because you counter the spell and its controller can't cast spells this turn. Meaning that if you're gonna play this card, if you know that the person is a spell heavy person, you play this card. For example, in my opinion, the best time to play this spell would be during the opponent's turn. You may play it during your turn while he or she is trying to do something, perhaps do removal on your creatures or any of your permanents, or perhaps do a spell to induce it on you or something. But this is a very good viable answer for countering. I run 2 of them because of that favor and outcome that you will get if you do it. So it definitely shows when you play it. Next is the Simic counter spell known as Plasma Capture. 2 green, 2 blue. An instant. Counter target spell at the beginning of your next pre-combat main phase. Add X mana in any combination of colors to your mana pool, where X is that spell's converted mana cost. I run 2 of these. Formerly, I ran 3 of these in my old deck. This card is an amazing counter spell. Why? This is why. This card gives you mana. It gives you options. If you do counter a spell, I mean, when it comes to your turn, the options are just limitless, and you pretty much have a lot to do with that mana, that additional mana that you have. I mean, it's just amazing just to have additional mana, and this card definitely shines once it goes through it. I mean, it's just definitely amazing, and it's probably one of the greatest cards I've ever used, in my opinion, and I absolutely love it. It's just so amazing. I mean, it does all the things. I mean, such counter, such mana. Wow. I mean, amazing. I definitely love it. It's dirty, but I love it. Next card. Now this is where it gets interesting. The next card, I got in comments for this. They say, oh, why you don't run this card? Why you don't run this card? Why you don't run this card? Why you do not run this card? Your deck can run this card. Well, guess what? I am running it. Sphinx Revelation. 1X, 1 white, 2 blue, instant. You gain X life and draw X cards. Mythic instant. Plain and simple. You gain X life and draw X cards. Amazing answer to all your problems. Here's the story behind it. I was trying to build a deck not to use this card. Why? Because I only have 1. I only pulled 1. It was one fateful day. I was at a Walgreens. I went to buy Return to Ravnica booster pack. This is when I first got into Magic. Didn't know too much about Magic, so I got into it, And this is when I came in. I came in during the Return to Ravnica block, and people were talking about cards in the card shop. They were saying, oh, you know, this card is a very big deal, blah, 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 blah. As well, some other cards as well, you know. I had Deathrite Shamans, I had all that stuff. But there was one card I really wanted because I saw it being played, because I knew a player that loved the Azorius and loved playing control, and he always dominated every time when he would play in the card tables. He played this card, Sphinx Revelation, and I didn't know it did what it said. I didn't know it does that. And the amazement when I saw the people's faces when he pulled that card, it was an immediate wow reaction, because he gained life and drew all those cards, and he pretty much won the game with it. He ended it with it. So back to my perspective and what I went through. I went to one fateful day, went to Walgreens after the card shop, cracked open a pack, and cracked open this puppy right here. And I'm grateful for cracking it up. I wish I could get more. The price went down. I plan to get more soon. It's a really great card. If you're indeed a Magic the Gathering collector, this is one card you should have, definitely. I would run more, as I said, maybe in the future, you know, on the deck. I'll run more of these, but it's definitely an amazing card. And I absolutely love it. And I mean, the options it gives you is amazing, and it's just the ultimate defense mechanism, and I absolutely love it. I'm glad to put it into my deck. So now you know I run this card in my deck. It's part of my legacy, I guess. Next, we have a card that's an enchantment, which is a pseudo O-Ring, Oblivion Ring, which is Banishing Light. 2 colorless, 1 white. Enchantment, and it says when Banishing Light enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent and opponent controls until Banishing Light leaves the battlefield. The pseudo O-Ring. But why you're not running Detention Sphere? Huh, good question. I'm not running Detention Sphere because of the fear that it's gonna rotate out. I have my Detention Spheres. This is just an experimental phase, what I'm doing. Not using the Detention Spheres. So I'm just gonna use Banishing Light instead. And I've seen good results actually, just by using Banishing Light. And it's great. It's definitely great removal, and it maintains its battlefield presence, and it lets you know what cards it keeps in to tap, and it's absolutely amazing. And it can't be, the good news is it can't be redirected or anything like that. Let's say a random card, I'm not gonna say if it does it or not. Wild Ricochet, I don't know if it counters it and puts it back or something like that, or Redirect, which I don't think has been reprinted yet, but they should reprint it. I love that card. That card is evil, and I want to get it reprinted. If you don't know what Redirect is, look it up. It's great. The name says it itself. I mean, it's evil, but I love it. And basically this card is great. And I'm probably wrong about what I said about Wild Ricochet and, you know, Redirect. Maybe just it targets instants or sorceries, but if it says spells only, wow, then it's just amazing. But anyways, Banishing Light, it just takes care of the permanents, meaning it can take care of creatures, artifacts, enchantments, any of that sort, and that's what makes it very great. And it's definitely amazing to have if you're running a deck like this. I run 3 of these. Next, it is a God card, which I carefully selected, and it is Thassa, God of the Sea. 2 colorless, 1 blue, legendary enchantment creature, God, and it says at the beginning of your upkeep, scry 1, and it has 1 colorless, 1 blue, target creature control can't be blocked this turn, 5/5. I kept Thassa for good reason. 1, her cost is amazing. She's 2 colorless, 1 blue. 2nd, the ability to look at your library. I mean, scrying is just amazing. It lets you know what the next thing is that's coming up. I mean, it's definitely great. And you have the fact that you get to let your creatures be unblockable. So that is a big plus. And if she's activated, oh, and becomes a 5/5, which is kind of rare in my deck. But if it does happen, it can happen. She could become a 5/5 and do some work. But definitely a great card to have around. That's why I have her in my deck. Next is a new addition to my deck. Previously I've been thinking about putting her in. But here, yeah, it's an object of hers. And that is a Bow of Nylea. It's 1 colorless, 2 green, and it says attacking creatures you control have Death Touch. Plus, with 1 colorless, 1 green in your tap, you choose one of the many options. You can put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, or Bow of Nylea does 2 damage to target creature with flying, or you gain 3 life, or put up to 4 target cards from your graveyard on the bottom of your library in any order. I mean, the options are amazing. They're absolutely great. I mean, who wouldn't want to pick one of these options? If it were me and I were to play it, I mean, I would play it just for these options alone. The +1/+1 counter, yes, definitely. Does 2 damage to target creature fly? I don't know about that. You gain 3 life, yes, of course. Or put up to 4 target cards from your graveyard on the bottom of your library. Not really. The only 2 I would pick will be the +1/+1 counter and the gain 3 life, most likely. And the fact that it gives you the bonus that your creatures have Death Touch. I mean, you'll have good defense and you'll be able to take out the creatures that the opponent has. That's why I have this card around. Just for the options itself and the bonus that it does. I run one of these. Next, it is a great card that I truly like, that I pulled recently into the Journey into Nyx pre-release box, which is Godsend, or let's quote it right. Let's be correct about this. God's End, 1 colorless, 2 white, and it says equipped creature gets +3/+3. When a creature blocks or becomes blocked by 1 or more creatures, you may exile 1 of those creatures. Opponents can't cast cards with the same name as cards exiled with Godsend. Equip 3. Wow. That is amazing. So, basically, they cannot cast cards with the same name as cards exiled with Godsend. That is absolutely amazing. The fact they cannot use the cards. So, if I swing and I hit something, if I hit a certain creature, a powerful creature, for example, with this artifact, they can't be used the whole game. And that just makes me smile. And I love the fact they printed a card like this, and I'm happy to have it. I run one of these. Next is part of the Planeswalkers that I am currently using. And it's not a Planeswalker that not many people would expect to shine, but I use this Planeswalker, and it is a Johnny Caller of the Pride. 1 colorless, 2 white. And he has 4 loyalty. His +1 is put a +1/+1 counter on up to 1 target creature. His -3 is target creature gains flying and double strike until end of turn. And his -8, put X 2/2 white creature token onto the battlefield where X is your life total. This card is definitely great. Why? If the options allow you, you put a +1/+1 counter. Again, if the options allow you, because there is a removal that will take out this Planeswalker. For example, the dreaded one that we all know, Hero's Downfall. If it comes to Hero's Downfall, you better have a creature at that point and uses -3. Target creatures gains flank and double strike until end of turn. Hell yes. That is amazing. I mean, if you could keep this guy alive as much as you can, I mean, this guy will probably win you the game pretty much. It sounds crazy, but it can work. I mean, it's just amazing. Look at the -8. Put X 2/2 white cat creature tokens onto the battlefield where X is your life total. I mean, wow. If you have a lot of life and you pull this guy late game, I mean, wow. Unless they have a board wipe or something, I mean, this card is just absolutely amazing. I run one of him. Very underrated card. And mind you, cheap as well. I mean, for 3 mana, for 4 loyalty to do all that, I mean, It's great. That's why I have him around. Next is another Planeswalker, underrated as well. And I play Jace Memory Adept. 3 colorless, 2 blue. And it has 4 loyalty. A +1, draw a card. Target player puts the top card of his or her library into his or her graveyard. 0. Target player puts the top 10 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. -7. Any number of target players each draw 20 cards. Now, if it were me, this is what I would do. If it does not get countered, but if it does get Hero's Downfall, or if it doesn't, if you're very lucky, you play the 0 ability. You play that immediately. Play it like no tomorrow. Can you imagine that you're in late game and you bring this guy out, you say, mill. Runs out of cards in the library, the opponent doesn't have any more, the opponent lost the game. Simple as that. Always use the 0 ability. If you see it's advantageous to you, you play the +1. But me, I play the 0. Always play the 0. And that is what I play. Just for that extra option, that extra win condition that can help you out to win the game. Just play the 0. I mean, it is amazing. They say mill, a lot of people say mill doesn't win games, but you'd be surprised. This guy can really make a lasting impression. And I play one of him. Next is the lands. And this is what I run. I run 4 breeding pools, which are the shock lands, which say you pay 2 life if it enters the battlefield to have it on tap to use it immediately. I run 2 Hollow Fountains, pay 2 life as well, and I run 2 Mutavaults. Story behind the Mutavaults. I run it because my deck pretty much needs it. Why? Well, Mutavault is a great land. Why? It could transform into a creature, and it can be used pretty much at any time. And you could use it defensively or offensively, and players won't see it coming most of the time. They know what it is, but they won't see it coming sometimes. So it is a great option if you have a opponent that has lots of removal and all that, and you're able to pretty much bash them in the face with this card, or just play it defensively, however way you want. And I run 2 of these. Next, I have some other land cards as well. I run 2 Temple of Enlightenment, which are the scry lands. When it enters the battlefield, you scry 1. Add white or blue to your mana pool. I run 4 Temple Gardens, another shock land. Set of shock lands. 4 Temple Mysteries, the Simic shock lands. 2 forests, 2 islands, and 2 plains. Total of 24 lands. So with these 24 lands, it should be pretty good for my mana base. So I shouldn't have any problem at all. Most professional players play 26. I plan to play 26, try to see if this deck has good results and stick with the 24. But 26 is a very good number. Formerly I said 22 is a good number, but I prefer to have more land and more mana in my arsenal. So I put 24 this time around. Maybe I change it up, maybe I go to 26, you never know. But those lands are a must to me, pretty much. And that's why I run those lands. So those are pretty much the heart of my deck, the backbone of my deck. Without them, I can't do anything. So you need land, obviously. Next is my sideboard. Here's a card that I removed one of, but I kept. Plasm Capture. If you see it's advantageous to you, you run another one. You slip into the deck, whoop, and replace it with one of them. One card I formerly had in my old deck, I had Into the Wilds, the land ramp card. I don't run it anymore. Now I run this bad boy. If I want to get more mana, I use it, and it's always great to have counter spells. I mean, it's amazing. Next is an enchantment that hasn't seen many play, but it's amazing if you can pull it off. If you Plasm Capture into this, that would be amazing. Primeval Bounty. 5 colors, 1 green. Extremely good card. Thing is, I put it on my sideboard because there's a lot of removal of enchantments and stuff like that. And this is what this does. Enchantment. Whenever you cast a creature spell, put a 3/3 green beast creature token onto the battlefield. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put 3+1/+1 counters on target creature you control. Whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 3 life. I mean, this card does it all. It's like the Swiss Army knife of enchantments. I mean, wow. You have all these options. I mean, it's just simply amazing. I mean, the possibilities you can do in one turn is just amazing. And it really does turn the game around when you have this. I run one of these, but wow, like, if I ever pull that off, I'll be so happy if I do it. Next is the alternative to Horizon Chimera. If it doesn't do its work, and I see that the opponent is too aggressive, I use these 3 cards over here from Dragon Maze. Council the Absolute. 2 colorless, 1 white, 1 blue. It says, as Council the Absolute enters the battlefield, name a card other than a creature or land card. Your opponents can't cast cards with a chosen name. Spell with a chosen name you cast costs 2 less to cast, 2/4. Like I said in the previous video, use it defensively. Always. Always pressure the opponent. Always pressure them. Rarely, if you have the advantage, you use it offensively. A good example to use this offensively is this Sphinx Revelation. Unfortunately, I do have it in my deck. So, but I'm mostly going to use it defensively. I won't get too greedy when this guy comes into play. And I run 3 of these. Next is a card that came in the Journey to Nyx that I picked up. Ages of the Gods. 1 colorless, 1 white. You have hexproof. I run 2 of these. Why? As I run these, if a person is spell heavy and they're directing spells on you, for example, burn, or perhaps somebody runs Devour Flesh or red spells that inflict damage to you or anything like that, it says, nope, you can't do that. I have hexproof. And that's the beauty of this card. I have this around. If worst comes to worst, I use this. I put 2 for consistency because 1, the chances are slim. But 2, you never know. You can pull it out and you might get lucky. Next is another card that I was really happy to pull. I actually pulled it today when I went to Walmart this time around when I went to do groceries. Pulled 1. Bought the other one at the card shop. Was Deicide. 1 colorless, 1 white. Instant. Exile target enchantment. If the exiled card is a god card, search its controller's graveyard, hand, and library for any number of cards with the same name as that card and exile them. Then that player shuffles his or her library. Absolutely amazing card. If you get to exile a god, that is the greatest feeling in the world. I mean, wow. Here's the thing about this card. You get to search the opponent's library, deck, and hand. You get to see what they have. I mean, that is absolutely amazing. If you do pull this off, that's absolutely great. And you get to remove their biggest threats, which are the gods. Unfortunately, some decks might not have gods, so you just exile target enchantment. I mean, it's great for 2 options, but the bigger one would be better. But I run 2 of these. Definitely great to have. Next is a very aggressive card, is Blind Obedience. The 1 colorless, 1 white enchantment. It has Extort. Artifacts and creatures your opponents control enter the battlefield tap. But I use this, why? Not just for the tap feature. The fact that you can extort and inflict more damage by paying the cost every time you cast a spell. It's a give or take. You basically inflict damage, you gain the life. That's what makes it so great. And I run 2 of these. So it's definitely a great card to use. That's only if you see it's advantageous to you and you don't see that there's not any enchantment removal, pretty much. You use this card aggressively if it's to your advantage. I run 2 of these. Next is Mistcutter Hydra. 2 of these. X and green. Mistcutter Hydra can't be countered. Haste, protection from blue. Enters with X +1/+1 counters. Now, when does this card come into play? When do I decide to say, hey, when when do I come in? Like, when does the Hydra say, hey, where did I come in? Well, basically, when I see that the opponent has blue, then yeah, he will come in, we'll replace it, boom, done deal. Definitely great, especially imagine a plasm capture. Pump them up, mana, pump them up, done. Make sure you have a counterspell handy, just in case they do a spell that'll affect the creature, probably destroy it. Just always be sure. Deck like mine, you always gotta have a counterspell in your hand. Where there's a creature in the field, when one of your creatures in the field, make sure you have options so you can keep your creature on the field. And this is the case as well. So Mistcutter Hydra, definitely great, definitely awesome. If I can pull off the win condition of having a lot of mana in my arsenal, definitely great ramp. The last two cards on my sideboard is Master Biomancer. I run two of him. 2 colors, 1 green, 1 blue. He says each other creature you control enters the battlefield with a number of additional +1/+1 counters on it equal to Master Biomancer's power and as a mutant in addition to its other types. 2/4. This creature is a star. It pumps up your other creatures in battle. Definitely great card to have in my deck. If I see that the opponent is playing aggro and is not too aggressive with spells and is not too defensive or anything like that, this guy will come in and do work. Now, the combos he has, it's amazing. Definitely amazing. I mean, combos off with Prime Speaker, combos off with all the other cards I have. I mean, it's just simply amazing just to give that pump. Now, I'm not sure if this card pumps with a certain card that I have. I don't know if it pumps Mutavault per se. If Mutavault were to attack and go into creature phase, I am not sure. I'm going to look it up. But if it does, this card is simply amazing. And that is a must. A must. If you're a collector, you must keep this card as well. I mean, it's simply amazing. And I run 2 of him. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is my Bant deck. Keep in mind, this Bant deck might be subject to change when M15 comes out, or after M15 comes out. Hopefully there's some sweet cards that come out of M15 that might alter my deck a bit. It might get re-altered as M15 comes out. We don't know yet, but as time and speculation goes around, and when I'm waiting for the spoilers, which I do check every night, by the way, a Mythic spoiler. And also I watched Evan Irwin, like he talks about it, you know, the Magic show and all that stuff. But I do keep an eye on it. And when the new set comes out, definitely, I'm gonna do set review like they did the other time, like the thoughts on. I'm gonna play in the pre-release. I'm gonna get a box. I'm definitely gonna do all of that. And before that, Conspiracy is coming out as well. So when Conspiracy comes out, I'm going to do a set review on that as well. Everything that is Magic, I will deal with it. And I will share my love of Magic. And that's pretty much all I have to say. But just have to wait for the future and great things to come. This is Caesar Pillager, signing out.